morning, everybody. I want to say thank you for using RMO ATM. Today's class is really RMO ATM customers only. We just had a really successful promotion of ATM as well. So if you're brand new to using ATM and you just signed up for it, and regardless, even if you've been using it for a while, I want to say thanks. Really, really appreciate it. It's a great product. Rahul's going to really get into some detail on the power screener today, but I want to just say thanks for using Metastock. Thanks for using ATM. We really, really, really appreciate that. And if there's, as always, if there's anything we can do to help with that, let us know. And you know how to get a hold of me. I've been emailing you lately about all the classes and stuff like that. You've got my email address. Also, if you have any suggestions of things we need to be doing or things you want to see in the webinar room, let me know as well. And with that being said, let's get on to the legal disclaimer. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using Metastock and the accompanying software plugins. It is not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading, and Metastock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So let's go ahead and get Rahul on here. You guys all know Rahul. We love Rahul. He's been a valuable partner for us for a number of years, and I think he's probably one of our favorites. So let me go ahead and kind of get him on here.
Thank you, Jeff. I must say I really enjoy the disclaimer part, especially when you read it. Sometimes with your eyes closed, sometimes like a song. But it's always fun to hear it.
I did try to put a little extra into it today.
You bet, you bet.
All right. It's all yours,
So before that hits the billboards, let's get cracking. Well, welcome everyone. And like Jeff mentioned to you, we genuinely appreciate your using the RMO ATM. And for those of you all new to the family and new to the suite, welcome. This is a great opportunity to interact together as users. And you know, I'd probably start by saying a lot of times we do events and, you know, you'll end up seeing a lot of people who are at different levels of trading. But, you know, the hardest part is when you have people using different things. So I think one huge advantage of today is the fact that we are all using the add-on or, you know, coming here with the goal of learning about the add-on and using it better. So that's a great thing. And for those of you folks who have been extensively using the ATM for many, many months or years for that matter, I think you'll also learn a lot. It's a lot of nitty-gritty I like to get into sometimes, which may just help you. So I'm going to try and give you as much as I can in this packed 1 hour, and hopefully that should help you. So we learned a lot about the basic introduction of the indicators in part 2 of the webinar series we did. But today's a day where I'm going to concentrate on the Power Screener application. So the Power Screener is a very powerful tool, a separate application that we've built for you. And today is all about sharing with you different methods to using that Power Screener to our advantage. So let's get cracking with the first bit as to what exactly is the ATM Power Screener. So I've always referred to this as our go-to screen. Many of you would like to call it a watch list, a quote window, a board where you go to see the prices of the symbols that you're trading or tracking. So you could call it a watch list, you could call it your go-to screen, but what's most relevant about the Power Screener is the ability for you to understand the market trend, the ability to give you new buy and sell opportunities, the ability for you to look at everything integrated on a table. It sometimes makes it quite effortless to get that picture, and more than an effortless process, it makes that a very efficient and successful process because we don't tend to miss out on, particularly looking at a chart or running a scan. It reduces that human dependency factor. So the Power Screener is a fantastic place to get to. I use it for making notes on my trades. I use it to understand where I'm making money, losing money. I use it for a lot of different reasons, but above all, we can't forget the primary goal of this Power Screener is to work like a real-time scanner or an end-of-day scanner, no matter what market you use, on a stock list that you desire. So in other words, you can put in symbols of your choice, be it end-of-day or real-time, and set up indicators and time intervals of your choice and get signals in that direction. So whilst the program can do a lot, there's a lot under the hood. One need not get confused. One needs to stay focused because, as a product, I try and give you the ability and flexibility to do many different things. But I'll probably guide you further on in the class today as to how one needs to focus and concentrate on one's methodology so that we are successful in our trading at the end of it. So first, my immediate goal is going to be to introduce you to all the different features, and I'm going to run you through them briefly so that you can understand how do we use this practically. So today's a day where I'm going to use probably much less of PowerPoint and more of the actual product, which is great. But just so that you know, there are different fields that we can apply into the Power Screener. So let's say you are looking for an ATM study, say the RMO system or the trend deciders or the SWIs, all the different ATM studies are built in to the Power Screener. However, in addition, there are a lot of people who wanted some of the popular or well-used indicators as well. Things like the CCI, the MACD, the RSI, the stochastics. So we went ahead and even added those elements. A lot of folks who look at candlestick patterns or Bollinger Bands. We wanted to make sure that it kind of addresses most people's needs. So we kept adding to that list and things got better and better. And of course, as time goes on, we continue to build on that list. And again, we're always open to suggestions. If you think there's something you want, let us know. And if we think it's going to benefit everyone as a whole, we're definitely open-minded. Now, with that said, we also have explorations, which we give you with the Power Screener. So despite having the ability to auto scan, we do have explorers for those of you who are more comfortable with the Metastock's inbuilt scanner, which is again a great tool, very powerful in itself as well. So those explorers continue to stay despite you having all the different ATM Power Screeners. Now, two quick things that I want to get out of the way in the very beginning. I always get the question as to, is the Power Screener included as part of the ATM 2.0 suite? It is. It's absolutely included. You pay nothing extra to buy the Power Screener. So once you purchase the RMO ATM 2.0 add-on, you do get access to the Power Screener application at no charge. So it's included, if I could put it that way. The second question I often get is, would it work with real-time data or end-of-day data? Yes. As you all are probably familiar, since you are users, it does work with both local data or end-of-day data, as well as real-time data, or that is if you use Zenith, whether it's a 5-minute chart or, for that matter, a 5-hour chart or a daily or a weekly. So whatever you use, Zenith or end-of-day, you should be good, and the Power Screener will work for you. Originally, yes, it did not work with end-of-day data, which means for those of you folks with Metastock end-of-day, it would not work. But last year, towards the end of last year, we did upgrade the ATM 2.0 with build 46, 47, which supported the end-of-day data and local data for that matter. Now, the agenda for today, I'm going to introduce you to the Power Screener, give you a detailed overview, get into some of the nitty-gritty in terms of how you apply those different studies. Then I'm finally wanting to head to a point where I teach you how we can gauge the overall market trend. How does it help monitor a trade? How does it help me find a new opportunity? And of course, at the end of it, I would like to share with you some ideas on trade integration or indicator integration, time frame integration. And those are things I actually follow as a real life trader every day. So I will share with you some of those ideas and try and put you on a path where maybe that can help trigger newer ideas and better ideas suited to your needs as well. Now, I always also get the question of, should I use the Explorer or Power Screener? Well, quite honestly, you need to use whatever is more comfortable and more efficient for you personally. But again, I definitely would answer it as the Power Screener, and that's a very logical conclusion simply because the Power Screener makes it an automatic process. It makes it a hands-free process. You don't have to depend on yourself to run a scan each time. So let's say you are using an hourly chart, you probably have to run 2 or 3 explorers every hour if there are 2 or 3 strategies you look at. What if you missed running it 1 hour? What if you were not there on the table when that triggered? The Power Screener gives you that voice alert, that email alert, and if you don't like those alerts, it even pops right up on the top of your screen, and you can set it up that way. And it works on any intervals of your choice. So the Power Screener makes it more efficient. It reduces the dependency on you to run scans. It reduces the the fact that, oh, I missed out and I forgot to run a scan, and oh, I didn't find that signal. So those kinds of things tend to go away with the Power Screener. So it's a great efficiency tool. And let's dive straight into the program right now and walk you through the process. So when you open the Power Screener, you start with a new page like this. And when I say a new page, it's basically like a new watch list or a new quote window. And let's be clear what I mean by a page. A page is a list of symbols that you enter, and of course you choose indicators alongside it. So just to start with one example, just double click into any one cell and type in a symbol. So let's start with A for Apple. There we are. And it automatically picks up the current price of Apple and gives you the change percent volume. And of course, this is what we need you to configure. You need to right click on the top headers and then click on edit column. So now what I need to do is add the columns that I wish to see. So for example, let's say I want to look at the super filter because that's something that I like to use. Right? So we can just right click there. Well, editing is one bit, adding is the other bit. So I'm going to add new columns. So let's add the ATM RMO SF. That SF stands for super filter. I'm going to choose a daily time frame just for the purpose of ease this time. And I'm going to turn off the sound alerts to start with. And now in case you want to add more indicators, which is probably the case, you can just click on this button on the left. So instead of clicking OK and again right-clicking and again add column, you can just keep adding from here. So let's say I want to add 2 more. I want to add the strength weakness index. I just hit add more, and I can then choose the next one. Say I want the zone detector, and I hit OK. So automatically it brings in that zone detector and volume. So adding indicators is very simple. Right-click, add columns, and again, use the add more feature if you're trying to add more than one. Instead of adding one and then again clicking on add columns, just makes it probably an easier process. Now, just in case you are not familiar with the fact that, how do I adjust these columns? It's very, very simple. You can, pretty much like you do in Excel, just go to the column dividers, just double click on it, and it gives it the best fit. You can also stretch these columns out to your liking. You can right click on them. You can justify them. So let's say you like a center align. So all of that is doable pretty much like you would do in, probably a spreadsheet. So justify is just when you go on top right click, justify. Now, another nice feature about this is the fact that we have a pretty nice symbol search. So in case you're looking for a particular symbol which you cannot find, you can just go and type that into the search box and go ahead and paste those symbols in. So let's say I create a couple of symbols now. Let's just add a few of them. Okay, so let's say that's my watch list. Of course, you probably don't have a 3-symbol watch list, but just for purposes of this exercise, let's say that's my watch list. I can go ahead and save this page. So pretty much on the top, you go to Save Page and Save Page As. So let's click Save Page As, and I'm going to give it a name of Webinar so that we can look at that. So what you see right at the bottom is the webinar page, and those are like multiple page tabs. So right now I've actually got 3 different pages open. I've got a page titled webinar. I've got one with EOD. And in case you're wondering, why is it yellow in color? It's yellow in color because it's using local data. It's not using Zenith or online. It's using offline. So I call this an offline page, whereas the green ones are called online pages, okay? So if you are using an offline page, an easy way to distinguish is by looking at the yellow. If you are trying to create a new page, use the button right on top, new page, and there you get the choice of, do I open a new online page or a new local data page? So local data page is really the offline, if you want to call it that, but something that doesn't use the real-time data and just uses offline data that's resident on your hard drive. Okay, now I do have some data on my hard drive, so let's go ahead and just show you how we create one of those pages. New page, and I'm going to do new local data page, and I'm going to use data which is on my hard drive. So just to share with you the symbol search, so I go to the symbol search feature there, and let's say I'm looking for a stock called ACC, which is there probably in my local data. There you are, it comes up. And one way is I could just type in the symbol, but the easier is just hit insert to watch list, and automatically that comes right in. Now, a lot of times you have symbols which are numbers, right? For example, if you trade the Hong Kong market, you probably have, a page full of numbers. So let's just close down this page, and I'm just going to open up a Hong Kong page. And you can have up to 4 pages open at one time, right? And they could all be updating. So that's my Hong Kong page with symbols. And what I've done here is I've added what we call a description field. So by default, you may not have a description column. Right-click, add columns. But traders usually recognize the numbers, but just in case you don't, and you're better off looking at description, click here and add the description. Now you could even choose to indicate which folder your your data is in and all of that. So feel free to play around with those options. So if you like the description better, that's the description for you. And you may want to push the symbols to the right. So see how easy this is. I'm able to click on a column and push it here. So let's say I want the CCI right up here. I move the CCI right there. I want to push it right at the back, pushed it right at the back. Okay, I want the symbol right in front, symbol right in front. So you can feel free to move these columns around the way you want. Pretty much like stock. So let's say I want Cathay Pacific right at the bottom somewhere. Go ahead and throw it down at the bottom. You want it back on the top, back on the top. Okay, so you can drag the different stocks. You can drag and move the columns of your indicators as well. And of course, you can get into things like properties, and if you want to choose a different font, a color, a different size, go ahead and do that. And in case you're wondering, how do you do those little things? Right-click anywhere on a page and go into what we call page properties. And in the page properties, you will get an option for font. So let's say for the headers, I like a bold font, right? And I want a bigger font. You could just go ahead and do that, right? So there's a lot of customization you can do so that it suits you. Now, for example, if I'm someone who likes center align and everything, there's a really nice button on the bottom right. Well, this one's called auto align. So I just hit auto align and everything becomes a center align. Now let's say I want the best fit because, screen real estate is very precious. Sometimes you're adding so many columns, you want to make sure you view everything, but yet use it well. So to do that proper justification and alignment, hit the auto column width. And what it'll do is it'll shrink the columns to a size which is perfect, okay? so it won't take any extra space. So it would just crunch up so that you have a more efficient use. Now, if you don't like it and you want to stretch something out, of course, you can continue to do that. So use those two buttons on the right, auto column width and auto align, which justifies everything to the center. That's sometimes easier and neater to look at. Now, in case you're wondering what's that little icon there, that green light tells me that I'm connected to my online data feed. Since I'm using the real time, I am connected to it. And of course, you have the page name, and the page format is VPGX. That's our file name extension. And you can see how many symbols you're looking at, how many columns. So you are looking at right now 99 different columns. So that's a ton of calculation that's going on, but that's not just one page. You've got 4 different pages that are actually open. So having all these 4 pages open makes a lot of sense, because you could be trading multiple markets. You could be liking to set them up as different portfolios. Let's say one is in my company's name, one is my name, one is my wife's name, etc., etc. Organize them by different exchanges, by different portfolios. See what works for you. It's important to set yourself up in a neat and clean way, because that way you're not wasting too much time navigating through, and you'll be a more efficient user. Now, let's say you want to change intervals. Whenever you plot an indicator, you can right-click on it. It always asks you what interval you want this on. So right now I chose daily, but again, if you want to use any different interval, so let's say you want to use it on an hourly chart, go ahead and do that, right? And automatically you would see 6 AM comes in. So let's align this again. I can just double tap to see it. So now automatically it's going to fill in data as per the hourly chart. So it's going to the breakout catcher, looking at what the hourly data is suggesting, and then giving me signals. Now, the other thing which you want to look at is the fact that, how do I work with 4 different pages, or do I really need it? Well, it depends from person to person. I personally like to use 2 pages, but if you want to use more than that, if you have the need to, well, why not? So very, very flexible. And the other nice thing about multiple pages is the fact that it's multi-monitor friendly. So let's say you're someone who uses 2 monitors or 3 or 4 or whatever. You can use the little arrow which is there on the page. It's called detach page. So let's detach my Hong Kong page, and I can push this over to a different screen, right? So I'm not going to do that. Let me just, you want to push it back into the application, right click, and you can attach the page back, okay? So let's go back into the application, and we've attached the page back. So right click, you can do a detach page, right click, you can also do an attach page. Or you can use the little arrow that's pointing out, which tells you that you can detach it and then push it over to a different monitor, right? Now, another nice thing is the fact that you know, a lot of people are not familiar with this fact, is that it is TXT file or Excel friendly. So let's say if I want to copy these securities that I have here, and I want to just paste that into a Excel document, you can just go ahead and, you know, paste that, Control V. So like you do a typical copy paste, and of course you can do all your alignments, etc. So it is Excel friendly. Similarly, if you have a list of securities which you have in a text file, so let's say I've saved a text file, I've saved some of the symbols I have. I just want to right click, copy these, paste them into my watch list. So let's say right there, I want to right click, and let's insert 5 different rows. And I can even just paste those symbols in, right? And automatically those 4 different symbols come up for me. So it's nice that you can copy symbols from a text file. You can paste this into a Excel file, so very, very friendly. I love the symbol search. I actually find it a lot easier for some reason to search for symbols from this utility than anything else. But just to dig into that symbol search a little more, you have a nice update now feature, which means every week we update the symbol list. So let's say there are new stocks that get introduced or symbols that change. It's a nice idea to just hit update now. Quite honestly, I just update it once in a month sometimes, or even less, till I really find anything missing. And if you're in an online page like I am right now, I'm on the HK Stocks page, I can actually search for any symbol. So let's say I'm looking for Yahoo, and I want to see what's Yahoo's symbol on the NASDAQ. So just type in whatever you know about the stock, whether it's the company's name, a little bit of that actual symbol, and hit enter. And it's it's searching about 387,000 different symbols that exist on the database, and will give you an idea as to what symbol. So these are all the places Yahoo is. Now, it's always easier when I have 20 names to look at, but another nice way is just double click on the exchange. So tap on the exchange, and now I can see, well, I certainly don't want to look at Yahoo in the Berlin Stock Exchange. Maybe I want to look at it in the US IT services or software, and you can see that's listed all there, right? So pretty much any symbol. It's not just American symbols. So let's say I'm looking at a symbol which is, say, Commonwealth Bank. You can just type in Commonwealth and see if that hunts down Commonwealth Bank in the Australian market for you, right? And you can, again, double click on that, sort by the exchange, double click here, sort by symbol, double click here, sort by. And the really nice thing is also the fact that I can just throw in a lot of symbols straight on. Now, let's say I actually want to look at all of these 5 symbols. I can just select all 5 and say insert to watch list, and it just pastes all of them in to my watch list. So it makes it really easy for me to navigate through. So the symbol search is really nice, and allows you to search both. If you're on an online page, it's searching the online database. If I'm in my offline page, let's just show you one. Let's get back to my end of the page. I have some Indian symbols here, and let's say I am trying to look for a stock by the name of Reliance. So I'm going to hit the symbol search, and let's go ahead and type Reliance, and there it is. And I can straight away insert it into my watch list, right? So the ability to use that symbol search is quite good. Now, one big question that comes up is, if I am having 4 different pages open, and sometimes these pages can get fairly large, and oops, apologize for that. If you're looking at 4 different pages, we want to make sure you use the hibernate feature. So when I mean hibernate, well, let's just get this out of the way. Okay. What is the hibernate feature? Well, if I'm going to use 4 different pages, it's obviously going to take a lot of bandwidth sometimes. Well, not really a huge amount, but probably might use 20 gigs in a month or whatever if you keep it on all the time. But it just really depends on how many symbols you have per page. So if I have a page with 200 symbols and 15 different indicators, that's a lot of columns. And if you have 4 of those pages, that's a lot of work you're processing. Not that you can't, not that it's not going to work, but if you want to just make better sense of your bandwidth, you want to probably go into the properties, which is the first button, the power screener properties, or right click. You can even go to just 2 properties, the page properties, and that's when you can choose whether you want to hibernate pages. So I'm going to use the power screener properties, and that's an option, hibernate inactive pages. So if I have that selected on, which I have right now, by default, only the pages that I am looking at is ticking every second. The other pages kind of go into a sleep mode. Right, so if you want all of them to function real time continuously, you want to turn off hibernation. But I just think if you want to conserve your computer and internet resources, it's a good idea to keep hibernate on, because that way only the page that you are looking at is ticking live and updating and calculating live, right? Now, there's another small little feature called autocorrect. So, I particularly like this because sometimes, guys like me were typing in symbols lowercase. So I type in IBM in lowercase, and, it never finds a symbol. But if you have the autocorrect on, it would automatically turn that. So go into page properties, and you can always choose this option, always change whatever I type into uppercase. Okay, now or you can even choose an option, change to uppercase, when all of the alphabets are typed in lowercase. Where this helps is sometimes you're looking at an index or a future symbol where, let's say you write ABC small c1, right? So I kind of like this option better. So let's say now I type in IBM, it just turns it back into a uppercase. So these little things, we've really gone deep into the thought process, and a lot of you would find these little things helping you in your day-to-day usage of the product. And again, continue to fill us in if there's something more we can do to help you. We are more than happy to do that. Now, another very nice feature is auto sort. So what's auto sort? Now, let's say I'm looking at this market in real time and I want to know what are the top gainers today. So let's just double click on the change percentage, and I can see that, okay, today DIS is the top loser. And if I double click again, it would show me that CVX in the Dow 30 is my top winner. So you can just double tap on that, and that little arrow over there on the corner tells you if it's in ascending order or descending order. So double tap makes it descending, double tap again, so it can go back and forth or toggle between ascending and descending. Now, I often get the question as to how do I use the auto sort feature a little better? Well, let's say I'm looking for RMO signals, or I'm looking at a particular indicator. So let's just add a column, and let's add the ATM counter trend, which gives us straight cut buy and sell signals. Okay, but I want to see what are my buys and sells. I might have 200 symbols in this list. If I just double tap on it, all the symbols with a new signal come right up on the top, right? So that makes it fairly simple for me, that just a double tap can auto sort. And whenever there's a new, buy or sell, it again pushes back on the top. So for example, I could even sort by volume, right? And the top volume guys come in there. Now let's say PFE has more volume, it would just push up to the top. Now, one nice feature is you can even set the auto sort to what interval you want it to work. So go into the properties there, and you can choose as to how soon do you want it to auto sort. So right click on your page properties, and then you can select auto sort. By default, it's every 30 seconds. And if you say, look, I don't want it to sort every 30 seconds and give me new buys and sells. Let's say I use a 5-minute chart. I can probably, push that to 1,000 seconds or whatever you want. But it's a good idea to have the auto sort on. Let's say you want to sort this alphabetically. Just double click on the symbol column, and there you have everything alphabetically. So use the auto sort. I really like it. And the nice thing is, every time there's a new trade on, let's say, a particular symbol, if I've auto sorted on the counter trend, any new counter trend buy or sell will just come right up on the top. Okay, or super filter, if I have a new signal on it, it's going to come right up on the top. So whatever indicator you use. So auto sort is a nice feature, whether you want to sort by change, alphabet, things like that. Now, sometimes you do want to make some groups, and let's just right click, insert 5 empty rows, and let's say I want to make a group for tech stocks that I look at. So you can just put a star in over there and type in tech stocks. Okay, whatever, give it a group name. And now what you can do is add some stocks in your tech list. So let's add, say, Apple, IBM. So I've added a little group for myself. And let's say over here, I want to call the rest of the stocks other stocks, okay? Right, and now you can collapse these groups. So it would auto sort based on, the groups, right? And you can collapse these groups, you can expand these groups. And of course, when you do the auto sorting, it's sorting each group as a shell, right? So groups, just to recap for you, is go ahead and click into any one cell, the star or the asterisk button right there, and give your group a name. So let's call this financial. Just for the purpose of exercise, go ahead and type that in, and you've set up a group for yourself. Now, another 1 or 2 columns I must make mention of before I dive into the other things is I like to enter a lot of comments. I don't know about a lot of you, but when I trade, I just love having a little scratch pad. Now, we have little things like if you use sticky notes of Windows, that's available. You have calculator. Right on top, you have the help icon, which gets you the manual, text support links, and of course the save pages. But right click on a column, and let's add a comment column. And this is a nice thing. Now, a lot of times people say, look, it's too long a name. Change percentage too long for me. You can change these things. So you may say, look, I just want the title as CH. Okay, and I understand what that is, right? And you can pretty much change that because let's say you understand that. So you can actually name your own headers, right? You don't need to know ATM, RMO, SF. You prefer just calling it super filter. Right click and go ahead and edit that column and say, look, I want to call this super, okay? And that makes it fine. Okay, those things are really nice and easy. But coming back to that comment column, so let's say on CVX, let's say, I bought last week, need to exit at whatever. So you make your little note over there and you can, read through it. Well, sometimes I like to enter them wherever I have trades. And of course, if you have a position, you can enter your actual position. Let's show you how this works. So I'm just shifting the columns up front. So let's say we bought CVX at $100. So we bought 1,000 shares. So just type plus 1,000 at the rate $100. It tells me right now I'm gaining $67.90. So that's $6,790, which is a 6.79% off gain at the current price, and that keeps updating in real time as the market ticks away. I'm not precisely real time on my data right now, but just to give you a feel, it does tick every second. Okay, so it streams that data for you, so you can put in comments, see the amount of money you're making or losing. So let's say you have a sell trade. So let's say we've sold NKE, so we can sell, say, 500 shares at 55, and there you can see it's now suppose I want to add more to that, so we can sell another 1,500 at 45, and that obviously, so just add a comma and the next trade and automatically calculates your average price and net how much are you making or losing. So nice to put in your trades and see your mark to market. That's M to M, profit and loss, or mark to market as per the current market price, what is the price or actual money gain or percentile gain or loss that you're seeing. So it's a nice way to keep referencing your positions. Now, if you ever want to hide columns, you can also do that. Now, why did I talk about hiding columns? So let's say I don't want the symbol column because I don't like the numbers. I just like the description. Just right click on the symbol column and you can say hide symbol column. So now I just see description that way. Now, another really nice feature which a lot of us don't use sometimes is auto save. So when you go into the properties, we have something called auto save page on exit, which means let's say if I just suddenly shut the application, it's going to save all these 3 pages exactly where I left them. So I've left that on by default, which is probably the case for most, but just in case you have not or you've changed it, it's a good idea to go and keep that on, because that way you don't lose any work. How do you use local data? Very simple. You need to click on Set Metastock Local Data Path. So in this case, I have a folder. So you can go and add a folder. So let's say we go to the MSD NSC Nifty folder, and you can add a local data path. So wherever your data is, just add a folder. Go ahead and choose your folder, or, which has all your local data, and that should pick that up right there. Okay, and Online Data Manager, of course, is for those of you using the Zenith or the Metastock real-time application, and that is available to you. Now, a few small things which I want to touch on today. They may seem small, but they actually could make a lot of difference when we talk about performance. Okay, and let's dive back into that PowerPoint now. And when you look at situations where, let's say you've got a buy and a sell happening in real time. Let's look at the first diagram here, and I've just put on a MACD so that it's easy for all of us to understand. So the MACD looks like a buy or an upward crossover right there. But by the time the bar closed, it was no more a buy. So when you are looking at a real-time chart and you have a buy on the current bar, and the bar is live. Remember, it's ticking. It's going up. It's going down. The prices go up and down. Whatever's happening on that, it's quite a action-packed tick-by-tick chart. And probably by the end of, even if you're looking at a hourly bar chart, by the end of the hour, maybe it actually closes way, way down and it's no more a buy, right? So to make sure that you don't get false buy and sell signals during the bar's actual construction or during the live real-time scenario, we've pretty much on all the indicators given you the ability when you edit the column to compute on close. By default, I like to keep that on for most. And I think it's a great habit we can get into. So whether you use a 5-minute bar, an hourly bar, so a lot of times people say, oh, but then I won't get it real time. I'll get it when the bar is closed. Well, that's fine because most of the time we're actually trading after the bar closes. Sometimes you buy above a high or sell below a low, but at least you're not going to get a situation where you get a buy and then 2 seconds later that buy goes away, and then again 5 seconds later the buy comes in. So when a market's real time, it can keep going back and forth. But if you're happy seeing it that way, you also have the ability to turn off compute and close. But do understand that when there's a buy or a sell or a pullback stamped, that's on the live bar if that's off. If compute on close is on, it will wait for the bar to complete before it signals, which is always good because unless and until that happens, you're not sure what the bar's closed in on. So compute on close is a very important habit to get into. Now, when you look at sound alerts, you right click on all of these. A lot of people wonder what are the different alert models I can have. So I showed you the auto sort. So if I want to sort for, let's say I'm an options trade and I want to look at wherever I have a pullback trade, I can just go double tap and look for a pullback. And somewhere I have a sell, whereas where the RMO 2 just slipped below from 0 to a sell. So if I'm looking for pullbacks or places where the RMO 2 is at 0 and I'm trying to put on a new options trade, you can auto sort it. And you can even have a voice alert. So right click on this, edit column, and you may say I want an email alert or a sound alert. So if I say sound alert for a pullback, it'll actually say pullback for Reliance, okay? So if I go ahead and turn that on, what it's going to do is the next time it calculates, it's going to actually read out a buy or sell signal for that particular security. So I've just disabled the sound alerts because I don't want to interfere with my voice while I'm doing this presentation, but it's a good idea to select sound alerts if you want them. And the really nice reason why I built sound alerts is it actually came from the fact that I don't like to sit in front of my computer all the time. They are, you know, it's insane for me to think that I'm going to be glued to that screen for hours and hours and hours. You do want to walk around, you do want to get up, you do want to go to your restroom, you do want to go out sometimes, you have a meeting somewhere, you're on the phone sometimes, but the voice alert is something you just have to hear. So if you're in your room or around your room, you know, you've got a wireless headset connected, the voice alerts just, you know, help you understand, oh, there's a buy or a sell on a particular security, right? So the voice alert's kind of very handy. It reduces my dependency on manually running explorers and scans one by one. It reduces my dependency of looking at the screen, which is great for someone like me. And of course, if you are an email guy, well, we've got to the point where I don't like email anymore. But if you do, you got email alerts. And just so that you know, it is set up for Gmail. So you do need to one time go into the first button there, which is the application properties, enter your Gmail password and Gmail ID, and it would send and receive emails from and to your account, right? So that way you get your email alerts and it would come right up there. The idea of giving you email alerts is not to give you very specific information, but just to at least alert you, hey, you need to look at this chart. Now, you know, there is a setup, there is a buy or a sell, which is there. So the email alerts can guide you through that. The voice alerts are more specific. And of course, you got the auto sort feature, and you can see how it's auto sorting right as we speak. Okay, so auto sorting is a nice way to look at it because it always brings up everything to the top. Now, when you're looking at different styles of trading, now coming to the big question as to what are different strategies I like to use. Now, I talked yesterday a bit about the trend decider concept and using the super filter together. Whilst you can use all the models individually, I would definitely you know, like to do some integration, and that's more because I want to get some more confirmation. And of course, the real reason is we're all greedy somewhere and we all want to look for nicer and nicer trades. Okay, so let's look at this chart of Apple. And it's a good area which I've circled out. I mean, I've actually made a box up there. Now the green is the trend decider daily level, right? So if it's above the green, it's bullish for the day. And the red is the trend decider weekly. And you can pretty much see that Apple's never really broken the red line, well, as of the hourly charts of yesterday. And you can see that it's maintaining above it. So if you're above the daily and you're above the weekly, you're obviously bullish. And what I want to definitely look at is the fact that is the green above the red. Okay, so is my daily above the weekly? If you're wondering what's the purple or violet colored line, that is the trend decider monthly. I give lesser heed to it, but let's show you how I kind of try and integrate things. So if the green is above the red, and that's the first time when it went above, green went above the red. So let's look at any one bar. Let's look at this bar where my mouse pointer is. The closing is above the daily, is above the weekly, and the green is above the red, or the trend decider daily is above the trend decider weekly. So if that's happening, that's a nice setup. I got all three with me. And yes, I can run a scan to find this through my power screener, and that's called TD Auto, and that's the one we want to use. But just to give you an idea as to what do you look for? If it's also crossing the monthly, that's awesome, right? So it's nice to see when you have a daily going above a weekly, price closing above it, and it's also going above the monthly. Now, the next thing I also did was, greedy me, I like the super filter big time. So I put the bar colors or the expert advice of the super filter on this chart. So just so that you know that the light blue and dark blue. So when I see that, hey, that's a dark blue, which means I got a super filter RMO signal with a trend decider, daily, weekly breakout, and a monthly level break. Wow, I mean, that is just a really good trade. It looks all lined up. So you kind of come to these different combinations, and I thought I'd just share a couple of these with you because it helps you understand things better. And again, I'll recap that it doesn't matter if you just used one system on its own. If you were just happy or just only using the ATM RMO, I'm fine with that, right? And as a beginner, maybe I recommend you do that because you're trying to establish consistency. But when you get into a more advanced stage and you get more and more greedier and hungry for better trades, let's say you have 5 different setups and you're trying to qualitatively find nicer ones, I think this is a great way to look for them. So that's one setup I pretty much use very often. And I want to recap this for you on the power screener as well. So let's get to this. And let me just shut down a couple of pages. I'll just keep the Dow page open. And let's just remove a couple of columns. Okay, I just removed everything actually. Right click. I'll keep the last price there. Okay. Now add a column. And this time I'm going to add trend decider auto, okay? And let's say I like to look at a 60-minute chart. Now remember, when we use the trend decider, it doesn't really matter as to whether you used it on a daily, weekly, or monthly. It is going to use the same levels, no matter which chart you look at. But I kind of like to look at it on the 60 because maybe that's a chart I follow extensively. I do not recommend applying the indicator on necessarily a daily. So you can see the bearish and bullish stamps coming up there. And let's say I also want to add the monthly column because that's something I just showed you. So I want to look at the trend decider monthly level, okay? And let's just go ahead and add that in as well, okay? So it tells me the monthly level, it tells me so if I look at, okay, hey, this is IBM's bearish, it's below its trend decider weekly, all the 3 rules is the price, below the daily and the weekly. Now, all of these have been detailed in the manual. You can actually understand what does a minus mean and what does a bearish mean. So just very quickly, what a bearish means is price is lower than the daily level, price is lower than the weekly level, and the trend decider daily is lower than the weekly. So it meets all 3 forms of bearish. And then when you see, okay, that's bearish, and it's also below my trend decider monthly level, right? So it's a nice way to look at it this way. And if you want to further add the super filter, well, go ahead and do that. So you will pick up combinations as you go along. And, you might say, okay, if I also see a red color on the chart, well, obviously I understand that there's a bear trend, okay? So it makes it really simple for you. And let's get into two different price charts so that you understand this better. So in this combination, let's focus on this bar right here. So where's the close? Below the daily, below the weekly. So the first question is price closing below the daily? Yes. Is it closing below the weekly? Yes, that's bearish. Is it below the monthly? Yes. But the problem is, what's the bar colors? Blue. Besides, the low never really gets chipped out if you use the actual swing low. But more importantly, if I integrate it with the super filter, just look at the nice integration. So, that just makes so much more sense. But when that green goes above the red and you see blue there, that's a nice buy. Or, for that matter, look at that one. When you got light blue, can you see RMO bearish turning bullish? First breakout, first blue, first arrow, green above the red, above the monthly. Nice. Okay, that's that's some of the setups I like to look for. Now, you can do a lot of things. I mean, I just shared one example with you, but I do a couple of different things. I like to use the trend decider with the strength weakness index, or the SWI. So you can actually put up a chart. And now just to show you how you can do that template, let's just quickly do any one chart. And let's open up Apple. And how do you actually set up a template like that? So as you know, you've got the templates all inbuilt. Right click, apply template. So the template I applied was the trend decider, and I hit apply. And let's move to a hourly chart, because that's what I was looking at. So while it pulls in my data, okay. So we go from a daily to an hourly chart. So what it's going to do is give me the trend decider signals. And let's say on this, I want to actually put in the expert advisor of the RMO super filter, what I call the ATM RMO signal. So that's all you need to do. And boom, you've got exactly what I was looking at. And if you were wondering where was that example from, it was actually right there. Okay. So you can see the green goes above the red, closes above the monthly level, the RMO is bullish, okay? All of that stuff happening together. Nice lineup of things. So if I look at it right now, it's below the daily level, might be some intraday pressures. So it actually just opened below the daily level. We've obviously seen some pressure today, but it hasn't really gone below my weekly, and neither is my green below the red. So in the bigger scheme of things, no sweat. Now, if you like to use the SWI with it, so go ahead and use the ATM SWI. Just to remind you, the SWI uses a lot of volume data, because always merge the SWI to the scale on your right hand side. So if you're looking at the SWI, if the line's below the price, I can see, okay, from a volume perspective, it's still solid. So you can even integrate these two and say, okay, hey, when I got that breakout there, all this time it was below the SWI level, but right now the price is pushed out, and that's the red SWI line. Let's just remove a couple of things and make the SWI line nice and thick. Okay, so I like to see the fact that price is above the SWI, so the volume curvature is up. Price is above the daily, weekly, monthly. It's a nice setup. You got light blue, dark blue, right? And I love to see when green goes above the red. When the daily goes above the weekly, that's a nice shift. And in fact, just so that you know, that's how the original expert is designed. So the bearish and bullish strips that you see over there, you would be able to get that bullish and bearish right stamped when that happens exactly, right? So find your combinations. I mean, you will definitely come to it. And if you don't, no worries. You can use, there are actually systems designed to be used alone. Like I like to use a lot of the RMO tool, where the pullbacks come to zero. I do a lot of options myself. So I like to see where the RMO tools pull back to zero, and my super filter is at least light blue or dark blue in color, and the SWI is intact. Right? So there's a lot of stuff you can do there. And let's just show you a quick slide on how that's probably going to look like. Let's say here, you got the RMO2 pulling back to zero. You got the zone at dormant, so you can see volatility is low. You got a little 4 or 5 bar price bar drop, and the SWI is intact. Okay, so for me, that's a nice combination. All I did was I brought in the SWI element along with the RMO too. So I love using it that way. The integration definitely helps me feel better and trade with more confidence, and at the same time get more confirmed signals. So there's a whole host of stuff that you can do. Another strategy I kind of kept doing was counter trend, because counter trend is when you're trying to top pick and bottom pick. So let's just show you. Let's remove a couple of these just so that we have some clarity. Okay. And let's say I'm looking at a counter trend signal, so ATM CTI. Now, just remember over here, we've got a nice one called display filtered signals, which means it would give you only the first buy and sell in chain, right? So you might get a lot of buys and sells, and I'll just, okay, let's just get rid of the sound. Okay, so it would give me all the different signals right there, and I want to just look at first breakout, so the first in chain. So when I say display filtered signal, there it goes. So probably IBM's already been dropping for some time, and it's just a continuation of that same trend and not really a new opportunity, right? So you can do display filtered signal. But what I like to do is when we trade counter trend, what are we trying to do? We're trying to top pick, which means we want to try and sell a market that's overbought. So this is where you can use something like the classical RSI. So let's go ahead and add an RSI column, okay? And over there on the RSI, you can actually go in and specify overbought and oversold. So let's say I want a 14-period RSI. I want to make sure that, well, let's define overbought as above 75, right? Really overbought, maybe even 80, right? Or 20. We want to see stuff that's really, strong in overbought and oversold. So there you can see I got, IBM's obviously in an oversold sub 20 region on the RSI. So if I get a counter trend buy and I'm in a deeply oversold setup and it's a first breakout, that's a nice combination. So just to recap, a couple of combinations I spoke about: the super filter model with the trend decider. Then I talked to you about how you can use the RMO ATM 2 for the options, combine it in with the SWI. You can use the trend decider with the SWI to work as a trailing stop. So let's quickly open up one chart. Say I'm looking at IBM. And this is going to continue pulling it up on the hourly frame that's already there in place. So let's say I'm looking at where do I exit IBM? I know IBM's been short, and you can see how beautifully it cracked down. Where did that crackdown come? When did the green go below the red and the monthly, right? If I just get rid of the SW, you can see that's where green slipped below the red. So, and thereafter it's been very bearish. There was some phase of bullish. So let's look at this. Green went above the red. It's bullish, but did it cross the high? No. You never really bought. Was it above the monthly? No. If I put in probably the ATM RMO, the super filter colors, I like to do this stuff. It just makes this, it's orange. I won't be buying it. No ways. Okay. It just irons out so much for me. Right. So let's say if I'm trying to trail, I like to use the red line as a trailing stop. So I want to see, okay, if I get above the red line and I also get above the SWI line, that's a way I can trail my stop as well. So I want to make sure the price is above the weekly level and also gets past the trend decider daily and weekly and the SWI line. So different ways you can use it. Just keep thinking. I think the more you use it, the more experience you garner with it, it just gets better and better, and you can improve your performance with time. So just to give you some starting points as to the direction to head with, my suggestion to most of you who are new to this is make a list of 20 symbols or less, right? Just to start with. I know you can add 200 if you care, or 800 if you care, in 4 different pages or even more. But my suggestion is if you start with 20 symbols or less, and try and choose symbols which you can go long and short in. And if you don't go short, maybe you do put options, okay? because you want to be trading both directions. If you're someone who's only going to be buying, you're going to be missing out on half the deal, right? So make sure you choose symbols that are well traded. You can trade long and short. And also check that the balance of your scans are not long only oriented. You might set up all your alerts for just buys and not sells. But the nice thing is, in most of the scanners, we don't let you turn that off. We don't let you say, okay, don't give me the sells. It is going to come up if it's a sell as well. So we've taken care of half the problem there. The other half is what you need to take care of. Look at symbols which are liquid and stuff that you can go long and short in. And always enter trades after a chart check. So when you get the power screener giving you a signal, go into a chart check. Go look at the chart and reconfirm it, right? Set up a trigger point. Find out where your stop is. Now, while I'm talking about this, it's also important to set your preferences. So you can even set different time frames of choice. I'll just share with you another kind of combination I like to use. So let's say we have the daily chart with the RSI below 30, which means the RSI is oversold, okay, on the daily chart, but the hourly chart's breaking out on the ATM RMO, okay? So it kind of tells you, okay, I'm kind of oversold on that daily chart, but the intraday is breaking out. So obviously, you might have better odds on something which is deeply oversold on a high time frame, okay? So try different things, and you'll find the combination that works for you, and I think that's the best way forward. But I've given you a few 4 or 5 of these different approaches that I like to use, and try and build on from there. You'll definitely make things better, because I think trading is a very personalized process. There's no 1+1 formula for making money in the markets, because we all trade different instruments, we all work to different time frames. There is no holy grail, as they say. Now, when you're looking at compute on close, this is very important. Today we learned that when we set up our page, we want to keep compute on close on, which means it'll wait for the bar to complete before it stamps a signal. If you want to keep this off, you definitely can. However, just bear that in mind, that you want to wait till the bar closes before you, press the button. Another very important point I can tell you is to use the time template. Sometimes we get questions and calls as to, it's showing a buy on the power screener, but hey, I do not see that buy on the price chart when I open the price chart. If you're ever having a mismatch, remember, most probably it's your time template at fault. And let me share with you the time template issues that I personally face. So let's look at this bear chart of IBM. Okay, I'm just getting rid of the SWI line there and the daily level. Now, folks, if you just zoom in onto this chart, can you see the little dash right there? Okay, every day I've got a little bar at 4 to 5 p.m., right? This is an hourly chart. And that's because you probably have a post close after 4 o'clock. Now, quite honestly, you've got every bar represents 60 minutes of data, but the last bar is actually representing probably 2 minutes or just 1 tick of data, or the post close. And you don't want that tick coming in, because remember, there is a huge problem. It's shifting every signal by one bar every day, just because you have that. So as a habit, I know what I'm trading at usually. I like to go into the chart window properties inside of Metastock, go into trading sessions, and set these up. So let's say I say I don't want it 1602. You can go ahead and change that. Just type in, okay, just show me data for 1600. So if you like, let me just remove all of them once and just show you how I'd add them in. So I've just removed it, and I said, okay, let's remove the last one there. Let's say for Monday, we'll add 930 to 1600 and hit add. Similarly, click on Tuesday, add. Wednesday, add. Thursday. That's the way we do it. And now I have gotten rid of all my different post-closing ticks, right? And I won't have that little dash, which means I'm going to have much better, technically more sound signals, simply because now I'm using data that does not show me a 2-minute bar and a 60-minute bar chart. Does that make sense? that little post-closing tick or pre-open tick. We have that in India. We have the pre-open tick, which happens at 9:07, whereas practically we're not trading at pre-open. We're trading pretty much when the market opens, or we're not trading post-close. So you might want to get rid of it and, step up the efficiency. So how do you even do this with the power screener? Because to get that pinpoint precision, what I did was even inside the power screener app, you can go into the page properties and choose. So I wanted to just show me data from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., right? And you can further hit a custom filter inside that, but just make sure both are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And boom, it'll recalculate everything based on a 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it won't count that post-close tick. So that's what we call a time template. So these are the little details. If you ever see a mismatch, check your time template, your chart window properties, go and set that, clean that up. You have clean data, you have more efficient technical analysis and better results. And as I mentioned, your experience is going to guide you. Trading is personalized. I want you to conclude on a template or a time frame that works for you. Just because I like to use the hourly chart or the 5-minute chart or the daily chart doesn't mean it works for you. Personally, I don't like to use too many different time frames. I try and stick with one, at best a second one, because I have two different portfolios, one in which I do my day-to-day or my active trading business, and the other one where I try and do more of a medium to longer term investment process. Consistency is key, and which is why I would recommend that even after having the ability to do everything, it's great to have the efficiency of scanning, etc. You might want to just keep 2 or 3 scans to start with. Combining different strategies is not a must. Maybe at a later stage. I need you to understand that, hey, if I traded this one system 10 times in a row, I am 7 out of 10 correct, and I'm comfortable with my risk is to reward. I've traded it consistently for a couple of months. I'm successful with it. Once you've established a baseline strategy, that's out of the way. Then you're trying to look at, okay, now how do I up my performance keeping these baseline rules? So combining strategies comes at stage 2. It's not mandatory, definitely helps though. Even time frames, I mean, I don't do a lot of time frame integration. As I always say, usually when you look at a different time frame, when is the time that we actually change a time frame on a chart? When we start losing money. If we start losing money on an hourly chart, we say, hey, let's look at the daily. Oh, the daily looks okay, right? So I'm not a guy who looks at a lot of different time frames. I focus on that one time frame for that portfolio, try and work with that, try and extensively stay with that. Gives me the consistency, gives me that clarity. And as I said, if you start with just a couple of indicators, maybe just 2 to start with, 20 stocks to start with, that is absolutely fine. Okay, we've run through quite a bit of things. Now, if you still need more help, don't forget, I have a manual which I have written myself, which you have access to, which is pretty much under my account. You have webinar recordings to access, and I'm sure Jeff will probably give you links to that as we end today. We have live events. Well, we did a couple of live events this year already, India, Australia, a lot of Asia. We keep doing them together with Metastock in the US as well, where we speak at the Metastock conference, where I speak there. So watch out for those as well. And then, of course, you have the great Metastock support team who can assist you with technical issues. And if you have any questions on whether it's on the technical side or the interpretation side, you've got Vertex support, which is open from 9 a.m. to 5:30 India Standard Time. And we've put up our email and phone numbers there for you. And, that should probably be a lot of support, because the nice thing is when Metastock almost closes, we open. So you almost get around the clock support. So we would be more than happy to help you in some way. And if you have any suggestions, just shoot them out. If you want something, you're looking at something, we would be more than happy to, whilst we can't promise them to you, but we are always open to keep updating the Power Screener application. So today was a day where I wanted to talk to you about the Power Screener and all the detailing that it gets into, and the ability the ability of the program that can drive your performance. And I think if we really want to extract the most juice out of the power screener, it's all about being focused. And I cannot stress this more. Don't go out there and put every indicator on. Decide what are the 2 or 3, what are the 3 or 4 at best you want to be using. Decide the symbol list you want to be working with. And let it ease out the process for you. Let it find those opportunities for you. You know, sometimes when you even look at a stock list on the power screener, so let's say I've got the Dow 30 up here, and let me add a simple column like the super filter. And I can see that on this list, I have more blue, right? And I have very little red. So I can see that 60% of this market is bent towards buying. Right? It gives me just a first-hand feel just at one look. So gauging the market trend just from those color schemes sometimes gets easy. And when you stay with the same page continuously, your eyes get tuned to it. And those of you who've been consistent with your pages, you would understand what I'm saying a little better. But get consistent. Focus on a few indicators, focus on a few stocks. This is going to find those opportunities for you. You're never going to have a setup where you say, hey, I missed out, I didn't look at it, and I didn't run it. So that's the nice thing about the power screener, but just take care of those little things which I showed you, things like compute on close, chart window properties, right? Those are small little things you want to pay attention to. And I showed you a whole host of features available inside that power screener to help you customize and navigate better. So on that note, folks, I wish you a lot of luck, and again would like to extend a big thank you for attending today, and extend a big thank you for using the RMO ATM 2.0 and making it what it is. We sincerely appreciate the time you've given and value your patronage. Over to you, Jeff.
All right, Rahul. Do you have time for just a couple questions?
Absolutely.
All right, good. There's a couple of them come in. I realize we are running a little bit late, so we're going to take a few questions that came in. And if you guys have other questions, we do have a great support staff here. And Rahul has a great support staff as well. I'm just going to tell you, there's a lot of questions that came in. We're probably not going to have time to take all of them, but let's take a few of them. On the Caesar asks, in the power screener, is it possible to format the volume numbers?
Well, if you want to format them as in sort them, yes, you can auto sort them. You can double click on the volume. Okay.
And how frequently is the scanning done in the power screener? Is a question Satiri, well, a name I cannot quite pronounce, but what is the frequency of scanning?
So every piece of data that comes in, so every tick, every second virtually.
Full real time then is the right answer.
Absolutely, 100% real time.
Okay, let's just do one or two more. On the super filter, is there a way to change the color on the two bearish indications? I find the orange, Brad, it seems, has the same problem I have, Rahul. I'm blind in one eye and I can't see out the other eye. So he wants to know if there's a way to change on the super filter the color on the two bearish indications.
Oh, yes, you can. Now, just in case you're wondering on the power screener how you do that, let's actually jump into the application real quick and see if I can show that to you. So, well, is my screen still shared or?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So right click, edit columns, and that's where you can choose the different ones. So minus and minus minus, okay? So minus is the bearish and the minus minus is, of course, the red, which is, so go ahead and you can choose the color palette from there.
One last question. Andreas wants to know if the ZD is dormant but the ATR % is high, do you give him permission to enter that trade?
No, I would not, simply because, well, what does the ATR % do? For those of you not familiar with this, we've got a tool, ATR %, which tells you the average true range, or let's say the amount of volatility as a percentage the equity is clocking. So you can see that the highest ATR on the list that I have up here is 1.97 on Caterpillar, which means the average price movement is around 2% per bar for Caterpillar on a daily chart. So just because the ATR is high is not a reason for me to jump into a trade. I would definitely look at the zone detector because the ATR doesn't refer to a specific day. It refers only to a time frame of sometimes 14 or 21 periods.
Permission denied, Andres. Rahul, I want to say thank you. I know you've probably spent 3.5 hours, 4 hours just teaching us the last 2 weeks. That's really, really great. Thanks for all the time you've put into this. It's been a very, very enlightening experience for us. So, and Jack wants to say thank you, Guru Rahul, as well. So.
Thank you, Jack. That was so kind of you. Well, I'm no guru. I'm just trying to help you down a path, and I sincerely hope we guys can all make it as focused traders and successful traders.
Bruce asked another question that I can answer right away. Do you subscribe to your own exchange, or is the Power Screener open for all exchanges? So if you're using real-time, you'll be able to use the Power Screener in any data region that you've got available, which is pretty much all of them. So like with Zenith, if you have like North America, for example, you can go in and see what's going on in India or Forex or Europe or Middle East or Africa. You can't go real time in those exchanges, but you still have the access to look at pretty much anything globally. So that's pretty cool. As long as you're using the real-time service, obviously the exchanges that you've subscribed to will be real-time in Power Screener, and the ones that you don't subscribe will be delayed in Power Screener. Okay, so that's one. If you're using end-of-day data with the downloader and Power Screener, then whatever you have access to, you'll be able to push into the Power Screener. So if you have a North American subscription, you'll be able to push that North American data in. So that should answer that question. I want to thank you guys too. We're going to go ahead and close down the room. I want to thank you guys though for coming in. This was a very successful event in my opinion. We had a lot of new signups. I want to thank all of you guys for using Metastock and the RMO ATM. And as always, if there's anything we can do to help, I'm just going to type my email address in here. I know you guys have it already. Let me know. If it's something that is a little bit on the more technical side, reach out to our support desk. But any feedback, any comments, any things that you've got for me in terms of how we can kind of improve these webinars, or what you thought, what you liked, what you didn't, let me know. Always open to ideas, suggestions, that kind of stuff. Thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you at the next one. And that's it. That's it from me. Thanks, Rahul.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck. Bye-bye.